Alright, hey everybody, so welcome back to another video. This time I'm filming a suggestion I got from a friend. They asked me, so what's one of the biggest differences you see in Bolivia and Japan? So for those who don't know, I was born in Japan, lived there for 16 years, and I've been in Bolivia for almost 3 now. So let's get right into it. The obvious difference is language. People here in Bolivia speak Spanish, and from having lived in Japan, Japan is such complicated language, but in the sense that there isn't a lot of conjugation of verbs, if there is any, as a matter of fact. It's just that you have different ways of speaking depending on who you're talking to, for example. In that sense, it's very complicated, but Spanish, on the other hand, there's a lot of verb conjugations. Like when I did my first year of Spanish classes for beginners here, at school, they taught me 6 different verb conjugations for like different scenarios, and that's for beginners. So like, there's definitely a large variety of things there. It's a very hard language, to be honest. Even though I do know probably a little bit, yeah, of Portuguese. I can speak it just fine. I'm horrible at writing Portuguese, but it shares a lot of similarities with Spanish, but at the same time, those similarities can be like a pit, per se, that you can fall into, you know? It just makes the learning of the language a little bit harder in a sense. At least that's from a personal point of view. Now, the biggest difference for me personally was convenience. So basically, I was born in Japan, grew up there, had convenience stores all around me. Convenience stores work 24 hours a day. You have access to food, you have access to cooking utensils, writing tools, an ATM if you need money. Basically, you have access to almost anything you need. And there's always one within, at most, a couple 100 meters from you. Unless you live like in the middle of nowhere, but most people don't. Then there is the aspect of public transport. Japan obviously has a very robust and advanced public transportation system. Even if you compare it to countries like the US or Germany, Japan's public transportation system is just on a whole other level, right? It's always on time, it's clean, it's well organized, you know where you're going, it's relatively cheap. So you don't get that here in Santa Cruz, where I live, in Bolivia. I would probably argue that you don't get that here in Bolivia in general, like decent public transportation. So the main ways people go around the city here are their cars. It's very similar to LA from what I've been told, as in the city here it's built to be very car friendly, right? There aren't a lot of people who go around in bicycles here. A lot of people don't walk. They'll use the micro, which is like a microbus here. So you pay like 2 bolivianos, which is like 30 cents or something like that. And you can basically just ride the bus to wherever it takes you, you know? And then here they don't have bus stops. You'll just kind of be like, here, please. And they'll just pull over, they'll stop, and you get off. The other way is a trufi, which is like a van. You'll pay like, 20 bolivianos, and then these will generally carry you longer distances than the bus. They'll take you out of the city too in some cases. Then there is taxis. Here, taxis are relatively cheap compared to some countries. In Japan, for example, you'll start with a fee of $7, and it will go increasing after you go more than 2 kilometers. Here, I would say that for like 4 kilometers or something, I'll pay like 15 bolivianos, which is just over $2. So it's how most people go around when they if they have a little more money, you know, if they're like middle class and above, I would argue. Some people might ride taxis around, to transport some stuff. That also happens here. Yeah, that's public transportation. Now, food. Obviously, South America in general tends to be very meat reliant. but especially Bolivia because it doesn't have an ocean. It's a landlocked country. So having lived in Japan 16 years, I grew very accustomed to, you know, eating sushi, eating sashimi, like just fish in general, because it's very accessible. Here it's quite expensive. So most of the people who eat fish here are people who are, you know, wealthy, people who are who have good living conditions here. And yeah, okay, so in terms of gastronomy, the biggest difference that I've noticed is just the seafood aspect of it. Well, vegetables and fruits here are a lot cheaper than Japan. Japan is just very well known for having expensive vegetables in general, so there's that. No, let's see. Can I think of anything else? The people. How could I forget? So, the people here do feel warmer than the people in Japan, and let me elaborate. So in Japan, if you're a tourist, you might often get the experience that they're very kind, they're very caring. But if you live in Japan, it might not be as much. Like, people there do feel kind of closed, as in they keep to themselves a lot. And it's kind of hard to try to get to know each other. Here, I think it's a lot easier. I found it a lot easier to interact with people here. It's smoother per se. Like, people are like open to conversation at times. And that's nice. That's something I personally enjoy. Conversation is something that I really enjoy myself. I like talking to people, you know, talking to camera right now. So yeah, so that's the biggest differences I can actually think of between Japan and Bolivia off the top of my head. If there's anything you guys would like to point out, put it in the comment section. I'll read them. I'll try to answer them. Suggestions for videos are always welcome. Now that I have more time, you know, I'd like to get to making more videos, so that's a lot of fun. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.